Welcome to Policy on Demand. I'm Sindhu Blume. It is the week of August 12th, and this is your Monday briefing. Lawmakers are back at home, candidates are campaigning, and later this week, Vice President Harris is expected to unveil her economic plan, and that, along with more on this year's presidential election, will be on next week's episode of Election Watch. Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Wade Sutton to get into recently issued dual consolidated loss guidance. Wade, welcome.
Hey, Sindhu. Thanks for having me.
So let's start with some perspective on these proposed regulations. Could you talk about the purpose and relevance of this guidance?
Yeah, there's a lot in there, but I think the main thing people were looking for was guidance on how the dual consolidated loss rules interact with Pillar Two. That was, there's still a lot of open questions, but this proposed reg package answered a lot of them that are really material to clients as they're filling out tax returns and doing their 10Ks for the end of the year. There's also what I would call some deferred maintenance in there, just old issues that Treasury and IRS want to clarify. And then there was a really interesting, novel, and frankly surprising part of the package that dealt with what are called disregarded payment losses. We'll get into that in a little bit, but that was a bit out of left field for a lot of people.
Okay, and was there anything particularly surprising for you?
The DPL package, or the disregarded payment losses, dealt with an area where Treasury has some anti-arbitrage, type concerns, the sort that were raised in some of the early OECD BEPS projects. But you might argue didn't have the statutory authority to go after. And the way they did it in this package was kind of interesting, where they basically said, if you have a local loss from a disregarded payment, then basically we can take your check the box election away unless you consent to pretending like that was subject to the dual consolidated loss rules. And if you do consent to having that apply to you, what happens is you have to have income with no corresponding basis or deductions or anything like that, kind of phantom income attributable to this disregarded loss. It's a very technical issue, so I'm just glossing over it. But I don't think anyone saw this coming, really. It was something that was kicked around a bit during the Trump administration and rejected, but it looks like it was not fully thrown away and kept on the shelf.
That's interesting. And now, if this guidance were final today, what mechanics would it impose? So if you want to get into the nitty-gritty a little bit, what would companies need to do?
I think a lot of people immediately are just trying to look at their structure and see, okay, where does this apply? Because it applies regardless of whether or not you have a bad purpose, you were trying to create an arbitrage. Sometimes it just happens from ordinary business operations. And so I think people are just inventorying what, there happens in their structure and whether or not these rules would apply. And then if they do apply, you basically have a year to restructure, to get around the rules, find a structure that doesn't implicate these issues, or you may be stuck with having this phantom income, or your check the box election was no longer valid. It's a draconian set of choices that you're faced with if you can't get rid of these issues.
And I know it's only been a short while since they came out, but have you received any questions or feedback from companies?
Yeah, so the main focus from companies, apart from just the surprise of dealing with the DPL piece, is on the Pillar Two. Where are these regulations headed? Because I think a lot of people are just struggling with applying Pillar Two to the existing U.S. rules, which you can kind of tell from the way I'm discussing them. These are really complex regulations. And so when you layer Pillar Two on top of that, it's immensely complex, coupled with the fact that jurisdictions are sort of not adopting all the administrative guidance. Sometimes when they do, it's not retroactive, or they do it a little bit differently than the OECD recommended. And so I think people were hoping for a little more relief from the DCL rules than they got in this package, which is basically a year, 2024 for most companies. And so I think they're just waiting to see what's next. Can we get more relief? Is this the end of the story? Do we have to fully comply with DCL rules going forward? So I think there are a lot of stressed out companies, frankly, about the compliance and just what is this going to do to my structure.
Okay, so some serious pain points. And in that vein, so what are some next steps for companies? What can they do?
It's a 60-day comment period, but I think that's, for a lot of companies, number one is just if you are being caught by these rules in a weird and unintended way, you need to go tell the government about it so that they can take that into account before they finalize rules. And if you don't, and something gets finalized and you're the baby that gets thrown out with the bathwater, kind of on you for not talking to the government about that. Beyond that, we touched on this a little bit earlier. Inventory what is going on in your structure and fix it if you can. And if not, I think it's frankly going to be a lot of compliance. So just getting your hands around your data and getting ready for that.
Wade, we'll have to leave it there for now, but thank you so much for this initial conversation about these proposed rules. I know we'll have a lot more questions coming in. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And before we go, a programming note that for the remainder of August, Policy on Demand episodes will come your way as developments happen. In the meantime, if you've missed an episode here or there, they're available on our website. And the latest Week in Review with Carl Russo is in the description of this episode. Thank you for spending this time with us. We hope you have a great rest of the week. Take care.